everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most profound and contested questions in Christian theology: who is Jesus Christ? Is he God or man, or somehow both? And if both, how can divinity and humanity coexist in one person without confusion or contradiction? This question, known as the Christological question, has shaped church councils, caused massive splits, inspired timeless creeds, and continues to fuel theological debates today. From ancient ideas like Arianism and Docetism to modern liberal theology, the struggle to define the nature of Jesus has been nothing short of epic. So, in this video, we'll journey through the centuries from the New Testament to the Church Fathers, through the great councils of Nicaea and Chalcedon, and finally to modern debates where the same ancient controversies often reappear in new disguises. Let's get started. First, let's look at the New Testament, which presents us with a Christ who is, frankly, a paradox. In John chapter 1 we read, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And just a few verses later, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. There's the tension right there. The Word is God, yet the Word became human. Paul captures this same mystery in Philippians 2, where Christ, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. Early Christians worshiped Jesus as divine. They prayed in his name, baptized into his authority, and called him Lord, a title reserved for Yahweh in the Old Testament. Yet, they also saw his humanity. He wept, got hungry, suffered, and died. So from the very beginning, the church confessed this twofold reality: Jesus is fully divine and fully human. But confessing this was one thing, explaining it was another. And very soon, different interpretations began to cause serious problems. Let's look at how early Christians tried and sometimes failed to explain this mystery. One of the first was Docetism, which comes from the Greek word dokein, meaning to seem. Docetists claimed that Jesus only appeared to be human but was actually pure spirit. They just couldn't imagine a divine being taking on corruptible flesh. This idea was rooted in Greek philosophy, which saw the material world as evil or inferior. The Apostle John pushed back against this hard, writing, "Every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not from God." Docetism completely undermines salvation, because if Christ wasn't truly human, he couldn't truly suffer or redeem humanity. Then there was adoptionism. Adoptionists believed Jesus was born a regular man and was adopted by God at his baptism. This view kept God separate and transcendent, but it denied that Christ existed eternally with God before his birth. Next came Arianism in the 4th century, a huge one. Arius, a priest from Alexandria, argued that Jesus was a created being, the highest of all creatures, sure, but not co-eternal with the Father. Arius famously said, "There was a time when the Son was not." This idea sparked a massive crisis, leading to the famous Council of Nicaea in AD 325. There, the Church declared that the Son is homoousios, of the same substance as the Father. This affirmed that Christ is truly God, not a subordinate or created being. After Nicaea, Apollinaris tried to defend Christ's divinity by claiming that Jesus had a human body, but not a human mind, that his divine nature, the Logos, replaced his human rational soul. This was also rejected. As Gregory of Nazianzus brilliantly put it, "What has not been assumed has not been healed." If Christ didn't take on a full human nature, then our full humanity wasn't redeemed. Then came Nestorius, who emphasized the distinction between Christ as divine and human natures so much that he basically split them into two separate persons. He even rejected calling Mary Theotokos, or God-bearer, preferring Christotokos, or Christ-bearer. The Council of Ephesus in 431 condemned this, affirming that the one person of Christ is both God and man, without division. Finally, Eutyches swung to the complete opposite extreme. He claimed that Christ's humanity was absorbed into his divinity, like a drop of honey dissolving in the ocean. This view was called monophysitism. In response, the Council of Chalcedon in 451 produced one of the most precise Christological statements in history. The Chalcedonian definition is the gold standard. It declared Christ is one and the same Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, to be acknowledged into natures, without confusion, without change, without division, without separation. Let's break that down. Against Docetism, he is truly human. Against Arianism, he is truly divine. Against Apollinarianism, he has a complete human mind and soul. Against Nestorius, he is one person. And against Eutyches, he has two distinct natures. This Chalcedonian balance became the bedrock of Orthodox Christology for Catholics, Orthodox, and most Protestants. As centuries passed, scholars continued to refine this understanding. The medieval scholastics, like Anselm and Aquinas, explored why God had to become man. Anselm's work, Cur Deus Homo, Why God Became Man, argued that only a God-man could offer a sufficient payment for human sin. Aquinas further explained that the hypostatic union, the union of divine and human in one person, is not a blending of natures but a personal unity. During the Reformation, the Reformers all reaffirmed Christ's dual nature, but they famously debated his presence in the Eucharist. Lutherans argued that Christ's human nature shares in divine attributes, allowing his real presence in the bread and wine. Reformed theologians, on the other hand, maintained that Christ's human body remains localized in heaven. This debate was, in many ways, an echo of those older tensions. Believe it or not, these ancient heresies are still with us today, just in modern disguises. In the 19th century, liberal theology, led by thinkers like Schleiermacher, reduced Jesus to a great moral teacher, man who was just supremely conscious of God. This is basically a modern form of adoptionism. Jesus as an inspired man, not the incarnate God. You can also find a modern Docetism where some Christians emphasize Jesus as divinity so heavily that his humanity becomes almost symbolic, not a real flesh and blood reality. This kind of spiritualized Jesus is detached from the historical incarnation. More recently, liberation and black theologies have emphasized Jesus as solidarity with the oppressed, the human Jesus who suffers with us. These theologies challenge us to see that full humanity is a key part of the divine plan, that salvation isn't an escape from our humanity, but its redemption. Feminist and post-colonial theologians are also reimagining the incarnation, asking how the Word becomes flesh in a world shaped by gender and empire. These discussions are expanding what it means for Jesus to be fully human beyond just the ancient categories. Meanwhile, modern apologetics, from C.S. Lewis to scholars like N.T. Wright, reassert the historical, physical resurrection as the ultimate proof that Jesus' divine and human natures remain united. As Wright puts it, Jesus is what it looks like when God becomes king on earth as in heaven. So, why does any of this ancient history and theology still matter today? Because our understanding of Jesus shapes everything: our theology, our ethics, our worship, and our hope for salvation. If Jesus is only divine, he can't truly represent us. If he is only human, he can't truly save us. Only one who is fully God and fully man can bridge the gap between heaven and earth. The mystery of the Incarnation isn't just a dry doctrine. It's the heartbeat of the Christian faith. It tells us that God doesn't save us from a distance. He enters into our condition, suffers our pain, and redeems our very nature from within. From the dusty councils of Nicaea to the university classrooms of today, one confession endures: Jesus Christ, one person, two natures, fully God and fully man. The labels for the heresies may have changed, but the challenge remains the same: to speak faithfully about a mystery that goes beyond our logic, yet meets us in human flesh. As we wrap up, I'll leave you with a question to think about. When you think of Jesus, do you see God reaching down to humanity, or humanity reaching up to God, or both? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into theology and church history. See you in the next video.